Today marks 12 months since our last pre-COVID gathering as a church. So here are 12 things I wish I'd said in the last 12 months. 12 things that, as I reflect on the year that we've been through together, I wish I had said more or said louder when I had the chance. Number one, do not be afraid. I wish I'd spent more time saying do not be afraid of the virus, of your rights being taken away. Be aware, protect, speak up, absolutely. But do not let fear dominate your emotions and your choices. Do not be afraid. For those of us who follow Jesus, we are commanded by heaven over and over, whenever heaven interacts with earth, do not be afraid. I wish I had said more to myself, to others. Do not be afraid. Be wise, protect, speak up, but do not be afraid. 2, I wish I'd said that it is not about you. It's not about you. I wish I'd seen how our elections and our social media and our isolation and our fears would make us convinced that our chief mission was self-protection. If self-protection is the number one thing that you're doing, if looking out for yourself is your top priority, you may be following the ways of your Aunt Edna or your sister Susie or your Uncle Sam, but you are not following the ways of Jesus. That's not how we love one another, and it's not how we get through this kind of thing together. 3, I wish I had spent more time talking about why we made the decisions we made as a church. I know that we all do better when we know why things are going on, and I wish I had spoken up louder about it, about how Scripture is clear to us in its call for obedience throughout Scripture. The obedience to God, obedience to the authorities in our lives, from our parents to the governmental structures in place. Moses and Peter and Paul all set up a call for humble obedience. Peter himself has this paradox in Scripture where he's the same person who says, I will obey God and not man, and says that we must obey the government in place for the sake of the Lord. See, he said that he would obey God and not man when man told him, hey, you can't talk about Jesus anymore. And we are absolutely convinced that if we get to that point, we will also obey God and not man. But until that point, we made the decisions we made for the sake of the Lord in obedience and response to Scripture and what we believe Scripture is telling us. 4, I wish I had said loudly that racism is real, is wrong, and has no place in a community of Jesus. There's no place for it to be tolerated or minimized. And I wish I could tell you that I hadn't spoken up because I just assumed everybody felt this way. But the truth is that I saw and heard people in my sphere of influence trying to say it wasn't that big a deal, and we were all overreacting. And I let that cause me to swallow my words. I didn't want to confront. But it needs to be stated clearly that we value the people around us, no matter what the color of their skin is, that they are loved creation of God. And we cannot dehumanize them by putting them in categories or stereotypes, no matter their color, no matter their political position. And racism has to be called out, brought out, thrown out of any community of faith. 5, I wish I had said clearly that I and we support the police officers in our community who are trying to love and serve our community. We, as an organization, directly support the chaplains who work with our first responders because we believe the spiritual and mental health of our first responders is so incredibly important, and they deserve that support and help. Now, I am no expert in systems. I can't have a great long debate about the things that ail us and how we fix them. What I know is that there are people who are putting their health, their sanity, their lives on the line to love and serve our community. And I just want to see our police officers get the support and help that they need to be able to love people well in what God has been calling them to do. Number 6, I wish I had said be very, very compassionate with yourself and others. I think I said it occasionally. I wish I'd said it more often. Wish I'd said it to myself more often. Be very, very compassionate. I wish I had seen how hard this was going to be on our patience with ourselves, our patience with others. Anger is easier. Cynicism and disappointment and distrust are easier, but compassion is so, so needed. To be willing to hear someone else who is hurting and to hear them with love and patience and care. Right now, you want to be countercultural? You want to zig when the world is zagging? Be very, very compassionate with yourself and others. 7, I wish I had talked about truth and hope and peace and generosity louder and more often. As a church, we started this shutdown time, this last 12 months, with those words that we wanted to be people of truth and hope and peace and generosity. And I just wish that I had reminded myself and us more of that reality that we needed to be going after, that vision of who we wanted to be, that we wanted to be people of truth about what we know, not just about rumors or fears, not minimizing things or blowing things out of proportion. We want to be people of hope beyond health, beyond a vaccine, beyond what a government can do for us. We want to be people of hope in the good news of Jesus. We want to be people of peace, not getting caught up in quarrels or justifying the attacks of ourselves or of people that we support. We want to be people of generosity. We want to be generous with our compassion, generous with our time, generous with our finances, generous with our grace, generous to ourselves and to others. I wish I'd talked about truth, hope, peace, and generosity more. Number 8, don't give your kids negative emotions. Don't give your kids negative emotions. Ask them how they're doing. Hear their hurt. Hear what they're going through. Don't tell them how rough this is for them. This is a lesson I am learning as we go through this time. Don't tell them how upset they should be or how unfair all of this is to them. Ask them how they're doing. Hear their heart. Let them process. Let them miss the things they're missing. Let them enjoy the things they're enjoying. What I'm finding as I listen to kids, young adults, they're a lot more resilient and creative than we give them credit for. And us piling negative emotions on them, telling them they should feel bad, doesn't help. Listen, hear them out, and hear where their resiliency and their creativity is bringing life and joy and hope to their situation and the people around them. Some other things I'm learning as we go through this, lessons I'm taking forward. Number 9, I wish I'd said I love you more often. I always struggle to say this. I learned a long time ago that you can love people and they will still leave somehow, and that hurts. I learned a long time ago that sometimes you can tell someone you love them, do a really bad job of it, and then you hurt them. Definitely done that. This year has reminded me that we can love to the best of our ability, and people may still choose to walk away. They may choose their politics or their perspective over you, even if you love them. And what I'm learning is that even though the vulnerability of I love you can hurt, it is worth it anyway. It's worth it anyway. To have loved, to care, to open yourself to be loved. I'm learning it's worth it. So, even if I don't know you very well, I love you. Thanks for being here. Number 10, I'm sorry. I wish I said I'm sorry more. I'm sorry for the things that I have done and said that hurt. I'm sorry for the things that I didn't say. Some of them I'm trying to say now that left you hanging or left you confused. I'm sorry for the ways that I let my fear win out. I wish I had said I'm sorry more. I wish I had called on people to say I'm sorry more. Number 11, thank you. I wish I'd said thank you more and louder. Thank you to everyone who is loving their neighbor. Thank you to everyone who has given me an opportunity to speak, to love, to be loved. Thank you to everyone who is showing patience and grace to me, but especially the people around you, creating this culture around you of patience and grace and compassion. Thank you to everyone who is putting in the work to grow, to stretch outside your comfort zone. And thank you to those who are encouraging me to do that too. And number 12, last but most definitely not least, I wish I had said loudly that there is more good coming. There is good coming for our church, for our community. God is growing our character. God is growing the character of people around us. He is restoring hope. He's bringing peace and joy to our community. We are part of a kingdom that COVID cannot slow down and part of a mission that cannot be stopped. People are going to know that they are loved. Your neighbors are going to find peace and joy again. We have reason to hope and to anticipate. Good things are coming. God is up to good stuff. Let's not get lost in the cynicism and the despair or disappointment, but let's anticipate, let's look forward, let's be excited about what God is doing, not to Pollyanna it or pretend like the bad things aren't happening, but because it's true, and we can put our hope in the work that He is doing in us and around us, put our joy in the fact that we get to be a part of that future, that God is working in us and through us and in our community. So, 12 things for 12 months. I want you to know that you are loved, and I am so grateful for you. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.